Well, first things first, Shawn, welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute since we've recorded a video together, but obviously we talk. How is everything? What's new? What you got going
on? Everything's going good. I've thought about doing world premiere my Naked Notary channel with you, but FCC won't let me do it, so we got to come up with a new idea. No, I'm
yeah. Do that on your own channel. Get taken down real quick.
It'll never happen. It'll never happen. But all jokes aside, I was checking out the new legislation on the HR 3962 Act or whatever. I don't know if you're familiar with that, or listeners, I can give you like a quick synopsis.
Yeah.
So basically, it's basically about acceptance. It seems confusing. People are like, I don't get it. I thought we were already legal. So there's a difference between performance and acceptance. Initially, remote online notarization is just we're allowed to perform as notary publics in all 50 states. But then it was based on case by case and even sometimes state by state acceptance. Where they're going to accept that remote notarization. Now looks like they're trying to make it federal to where it's accepted in all 50 states when a RON performs an act like such as that. So again, it's basically difference between performing and accepting. That's all. My take on what was going down with.
No, for sure. Yeah, I heard some rumblings, but I haven't looked more into it. I need to check it out because I know like things change when you have like federal legislation versus, like you said, state by state, because it just looks so different. So first step to the RON domino, not the first step, but a domino falling for RON, which is always great to see it kind of move forward and get more widely accepted. Now, I feel like that's kind of like the general theme of RON, right? There's been such a big change on the RON landscape, and it's only going to continue to change as like years go on, time goes on, more people kind of get into it. One area in particular that's changed, I feel like a ton, is RON platforms. Now, you've been around for full-time RON for a minute now. Have you seen that as well?
Yeah, there's definitely a change, an evolution, as we call it. So, I'd like to break it down in my head in 3 categories. You got first generation, second generation, third generation platforms. So yes, I definitely see a change. And,
anytime I hear somebody say like generation or something, I always think of like iPods. I don't know if you ever had an iPod. And remember that like the first gen, second gen, they start getting like smaller and like easier to use and whatnot. It is kind of how RON platforms go as well. Like you can kind of know which platforms came first if you've like been on them a little bit. They're a little bit more clunky, a little more cumbersome. Then like as they've gone on, they've gotten more streamlined. So I definitely want to talk to you about which platforms you think fit into which generation and what you think in general are the pros and cons of each one. So let's just dive into it in general. Well, actually, I want to back up and ask you a question. Do you feel like with all the RON platforms coming out, there's too many platforms, or you actually like there being more?
No, I like there being more. Too many to keep up with, yes, but competition breeds quality, so we need them. But it's getting hard to like just know who's coming out with what and the features and all that. So
yeah. I mean, I am like beginning to work on my like 2022 version of all the RON platforms, and I'm just like, listen, some of these smaller ones, they just got to stay off the list because I can't go through and figure out what all is everywhere because there's like a billion of them. I think realistically, there's maybe like 58 of them or something like that, but still, that's a lot of freaking platforms.
Yeah, they're popping up every day.
I promise you. Okay, cool. Well, I want to hear your take. So when it comes to a first generation platform, right? One, like what does that mean to you being first generation? Like what is an example of a first gen platform?
So for me, a first generation, this is probably the derivative of you'll see, remember the whole, what is it? What's the thing you go back and forth with the documentation, the original?
What are you talking about? Traditional?
No, the software when you could just pass documents back and forth to each other.
DocuSign?
It was before that.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, DocuSign, right? You can use that categorized as first generation, but before we were doing anything, we were just passing documents back and forth, right? Signing the documents. So first gen was just about having DocuSign plus a video feature attached to it.
Yeah.
Right. So nothing's in real time, slow motion. KB and all that was still in effect, but it's just a matter of I can pass the documents to it. And then, even on the customer, I'm on the notary side, expense side, fees were kicked in as well. So they were probably a lot higher. Nobody kind of knew, how is this going to go and the overhead and the cost of what we have to deal with. So that's my take on first generation. You got DocuSign, SignX, Doc Verify.
Yeah, Doc Verify, no shade, right? I mean,
no shade at all. This is all just.
Yeah, I would definitely classify that as like first gen. I had made a video a long time ago. I felt like I talked like briefly about kind of like categories, but for me, it's I would constitute those as first gen. I think first gen for me is like a platform. It was early out, like you said, they didn't know what to expect. So they built it on like, okay, well, let's protect ourselves from the unknown, right? So it's a little bit more expensive, a little bit more clunky. And it seems to have not.
The simplicity was still there, though.
You think so? Have you used Doc Verify or SignX?
I hadn't used it in a while. Like, when it first came out.
Yeah.
I used it before the video thing was attached to it.
Do you feel like they were pretty simplistic?
Okay, so we'll put it in relative terms. Because I have a technical mind, yes.
Yeah.
From a non-technical person, user-friendly, probably not the easiest for them.
Yeah, I feel like if you have a streamlined RON platform, it has to be user-friendly all around, right? If I have to like look up how to do something, like it's too much. It's too much. And I feel like to me, a first-gen platform is not only one that came out early, but hasn't changed to fit the current time and landscape.
Yeah, adapt or die.
Exactly.
That's
and that's how I kind of feel about those. Now, if you've done it for a while and you like it and whatever, then yeah, do your thing.
That's creature of habit.
Yes. If you get comfortable with a platform, right? Like, and it works for you, do your thing. But for me, I think those aren't the ones I would choose first.
Right.
What would you say is like next gen, right? Because I feel like that middle generation is kind of harder for me to like nail down what exactly that would be.
So next gen would be where you have, again, there's the document is going to be viewed in real time. So again, first gen is like literally passing, think email, passing it back and forth, right? Next gen is going to be where the performance of the acts on the document are going to be back and forth. So for instance, in first gen, I sign a document, email to you, got it, right? Second gen, I have to sign a document, perform some kind of, typing task, and then you get an update version of it sent to you, and then it's done. There's no relay as far as like an email. It's just a screen update that you got to kind of refresh or just check, it'll take a minute to refresh for you. That's going to be like second gen. Some examples would be Nexus Tech,
Pavaso.
I can't think of any other ones.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's kind of like, it's like the enterprise-based ones, right? It's, I know, so PandaDoc is a new Notary, like RON platform, but as far as the general way it would work from an enterprise side, I would almost put it in there, even though they're newer, I would almost put it in there, right? It's that similar, like it's streamlined for enterprise, where a lot of stuff is kind of already done, where you're going through, you're doing minimal movements. Like that's generally how I would
that is a perfect example of what I'm talking about of first generation evolving into second when they married the two. I used PandaDocs back in the day, strictly when they're, just for real estate stuff. And then to find out that they were coming in the notary rail, they had to attach the audio video. They got to attach, the KBA capabilities. So yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm thinking of as far as the evolution from first generation to second. Some of the features might be a little enhanced, and then the user-friendly and simplicity of it, to me, got better as well.
Yeah.
In the second generation.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it becomes a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more straightforward. not as many clicks, not as many back and forths. So, I mean, I feel like that means really everything else new that people know for Ron, most people's first experience, falls into the third generation, which I don't know if I would agree with that though, because I feel like there's some platforms, right? If we're saying that, like, you know, your Nexus, your Pavaso, kind of like your Panda Doc are sitting in second gen, then would the third generation be every other thing, like every other platform? Or would there be kind of that, like,
there's a key distinction, in my opinion, of third gen, and that's real-time actions.
Yeah.
You're on the platform. I'm performing these acts live. You see me actually, you know, moving things around and saving, and I can see you create, you know, signatures and all that. There's no delay at all. You know.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the biggest feature enhancement from starting from first and ending up in the third gen, is that real-time notarization and act, as far as like, well, notarization is, no, you put that in there, notarization, but you see what I'm doing. It's almost, you know how you do a share screen?
Yeah.
That's the concept of what third generation is pretty much doing. And first and second weren't really like that. They would just pop up in second that it's done. Third was like, you know, like a slow email type transformation.
So really, it's less about the platforms itself and more about how Ron's adapt, right? Like the first generation of Ron was more of like the email back and forth, whatever.
Yeah.
And second was, okay, I did my thing and it kind of popped up. And then third has really been the real time. So any platform can really fall, depending on when it was out, amongst either generation, but it's less about the platform and more about the way that Ron is adapted then, right?
No, I would say more about the platform, because the capability is not there. It's kind of like, you know, people who are gamers, you understand backwards compatibility doesn't always apply. You know what I mean? So they were taking pieces from the history of the first two generations that made sense and kept them. Others, they just totally wiped out. Like, nah, we're not doing that. We're going forward and trying something totally different. Something new.
Fair. That's fair. So pretty much third generation would encompass like everything else that I know as far as like platforms. So that's
go ahead.
That's your secure signing, your notarizers, your side
So third gen examples would be Notarize, One Notary, Blue Notary, eNotary Log, stuff like that. So those are going to be your third gen. Again, it's more about the action of it.
So my thing is there anything after that, or would this be
yes?
What would it be though? Because right, like that is what Ron is. Just in real time, you see me do my thing, etc.
Right.
Like that's it, right? So how could
you talking about what could be next as far as fourth generation?
Yeah.
Good question. I think so. Let's talk about where third is first, and maybe we can kind of dream about what could happen. So what you're noticing now with a lot of these third generations is you can schedule an appointment. You couldn't do that in second generation.
That's fair.
You can schedule stuff ahead. The tool increased. Before, you have, you know, 1 or 2 buttons to create a text, create a signature, and you were done. Now there's all kind of stuff. You know, you got automated initials. You got your features like highlighting or planting flags to show people where they signed, whiteout, stuff like that. Started kicking into play. Document preparation kind of sucked. Well, yeah, it depends on the platform. Now it sucks on even some of the third generations, but document preparation would be that'd be another situation as far as between second and third, where you had to prep the document before you send it up. Then you can do it then you can do it on the fly, real time, with third generation, and for the most part. I saw it a little bit in second, but not a whole lot. You basically had to have it done. The ID capture capability, you know, has gotten simpler. You went from, you know, holding stuff up on the screen to using your phone. Now they got QR codes that you can scan, you know, for those more technically savvy.
On phone too, on some, depending on the platform. You can do your signature.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. That would be another difference between first and second and third, where how you do your signature on there. Third generation, another distinctive is the simulation aspect, which is vital training. You know, before you had these training videos, like, you know, you had to go to take a class or you had to watch a video, figure out how to do this. They still have that. And then what they did is add is, okay, now we're going to have a simulation on the actual platform that you can go in and tinker with before you start taking, you know, real clients and looking like a fool or whatever. Witnessing capabilities on third, you know, before, you know, it wasn't really a concept. And then it's like, okay, well, how do we manage this in? So now you can bring somebody in remotely, you know, they don't have to be on the, physically in the room. Before second generation and first, no more was thinking, oh, you got to have somebody with you in camera, and, you know, we'll figure it out type thing, or it might be a separate transaction. I call it the call queue, you know, it was built in on the back end of maybe second generation, but third, the platforms are now allowing the users to pick both sides at the same time, where you can take customers coming in and use the same platform, versus before you had to pick a side, you had to do one or the other, or the capability wasn't even there. And then billing, you know, some platforms don't allow they don't allow you to bill through them, others do, you know. So that's another aspect of the third generation I see that works, you know, that's improving.
No, you're right. Thank you for highlighting that. Cause I was like, I was like, oh, well, what's different? It's just third gen. No, but you're right. So much has changed. And like every new platform that I've seen, I shouldn't say every new platform, but as platforms come out, like I can tell they're taking things that people didn't like from other platforms and just building on top of it. So for each new one, you're getting all these features that you're like, dang, like that's freaking dope. Rather it's like you said, the witnessing has been significantly easier. Being able to pull from, you know, notaries on the platform to be a witness, or bringing anybody else in. You can even bring in, you know, a title agent or whoever to just sit and watch if you want to on some of these platforms, to watch the signing. They're not a participant. You could take the KBAs. I don't know like the legality of it, but I know on some platforms you could take the KBAs up to 24 hours before the signing itself, and it'll store in there. So you don't have to get to the thing. And, you know, people always fumble with their thing. Like, what's my address back in 10 years? I'm like, bro, I do not know. And so they can take that and be completely done. So by the time you get in there, like you finish it all. So much has changed. And I remember my first time really looking into it, Doc Verify was the first platform I came across, and kind of like, you know, slowly but surely found some other ones. But yeah, now I'm thinking about it, having seen new ones and like sat through demos of some new ones, it's been, night and day. Night and day now that I'm thinking about it.
And we take it for granted because we're in the middle of the incremental improvements and evolution. So we're like, oh, okay, we got this one quick feature, and we're not thinking, oh, this is major, you know. So
it is. Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I'm excited to see it. I feel like one of the things though about third gen that I don't think anybody has done or had it perfected yet, which is like, yes, there's so many features that you can take advantage of, but how do you do it in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming? You know what I mean? Where it's like, yes, these are customizations that you could do to how you perform your work, but let me present it in a way that seems like palatable and like it's a resource versus a burden. You know what I mean? Because some of these platforms that have it all is like overwhelming.
There's a platform out there. You may not forgive me. I always mix them up. Is it Signature or
Secure Sign? Which one?
It starts with the Nest. It's very robust, but it's third gen. But man, it has too many. It's Signature or I don't remember the name of it. Signing something or Signature. It starts with the Nest.
Yeah.
But I know you've been on. I know you've done the demo. They give you the
I've
demo.
done the demo for it.
Yeah, you got to schedule the demo and log in and they go through.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know this. But yeah,
remember what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about.
I forgot the name. The other thing I'll say, the difference is devices like the clients can use.
Yeah.
You know, you had to have a laptop in first and second. You know, third, you can do anything. Your smartphone, your tablet, stuff like that. So to answer your question about fourth, when it becomes mobile, like a notary can do the job on their phone, or they can do the job on their tablet, iPad. That's probably when I see fourth generation platforms going. Not, the signer can do it now all day long, but the notary can't.
That's true. It's not really built for being on tablets, which is very interesting to me. While it's not built, because tablets darn near, like at this point, have a lot of the same power as like computers. Granted, like, they're not as big, they're not as fast, they're not as whatever, but you're not doing that many steps. And so it's interesting that it's not built out for tablets right now. I don't know if I would ever really do it on a phone. I just don't think it's big enough, but a tablet for sure.
Yeah, you never know. I see it coming. I'm old school. I prefer the laptop so I can spread out, my fingers and mouse. Yeah. So I probably won't ever adapt to a iPad or tablet because I'm too slow doing this with, dragging and yeah. But I've run some notaries now. When I train them, like, I can't do this on the tablet. No, they don't know how to function because they're not used to using a laptop like that. They started with the phone.
Yeah.
Then they went to the tablet and that's it. They weren't really in that laptop era.
That's true. I feel like the only benefit for it being a phone is you always have data, right? It's like the thing about a laptop is like, unless I'm hooked up to somebody's Wi-Fi, same with a tablet. Like I'm not getting a tablet with cellular. Like that don't make sense to me. So I would have to hook up to somebody's Wi-Fi. But if I'm on my phone as a notary, I'm always going to have cellular data. I'm always going to be able to take it no matter where. So if I'm on the go or whatever, and I need to pop into my car to do whatever, I can do it versus having to worry and pop into a Starbucks or whatever the case may be. So that would be cool.
Right. I think another difference I'm thinking about, first in Gen, you added a document, that was it. Third, you can add more during the session.
Yeah,
that's you can take away. Yeah. Because I've had situations you'd be like, oh man, they sent me the wrong thing, or I made a simple mistake and it's not enough to where to edit is not going to work. I said, I need to upload a document right now instead of sending out a whole new invite, starting the session over again. So I do like that.
One thing I've seen on a platform, I can't remember which platform does it, they let you switch the notary mid-session too. So let's say you get into it or whatever the case may be, and you can't perform the notarization anymore. Like, I don't know, something happens.
Yeah.
You can tap in somebody else to go and finish the notarization. I'm just like, that is cool. So your client don't have to go through everything else. It's just, boom, I slap someone.
That's dope.
The fourth gen, so like you said, it's really just about the devices. What features would you like to see in fourth gen? Like, what do you feel like is the missing feature?
Dream list.
I
haven't put a lot of thought of it. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what my pain points are right now. Because I feel like a lot of it's covered. I'm pretty sure, like when you're right in the trenches in the middle of a transaction, that's like the best time to ask that question. Oh yeah, this and this, I need this on there. I'm trying to think right now. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
Probably because I'm on camera. You know how my brain feels. But yeah, I can't think of any. I don't know. Can you?
No, I mean, I think the biggest thing is like, I want to get to a point, and I realize, I know why the features are, I want to get to a point where literally, once you get in the actual transaction, it's literally just me putting my stamp on it. Like, that's it. Like, no extras, no whatever. Like, everything is pre-done for the most part. That can be done. Like, obviously, some stuff needs to be signed in front of you, or whatever the case may be. But
you don't feel like it's like that now?
Not as well as it could be. I think you have the ability to have that done beforehand, but I think it's still up to the notary to get it done. I wanted to get to a point where it's almost like that's just the expectation. Somebody uploads a document, it has you before you even get into the session. Like, no, you finish this stuff and then you get into the session and then all you have is just boom and done. Because right now you can pre-tag it if you want to. You can do a template if you want to. And I know autonomy is great and customization is great, but I'd want to get to a point where it's almost like the expectation, like, no, you actually should just knock this stuff out. So then that way, once you get
so it won't even allow you to move forward to the next step without
like darn near, which sounds like restrictive, right? Because you don't necessarily want that. But at the same time, if I think about like why platforms tend to be expensive, part of it is just like data storage, right? Like it's the actual length of the video and them having to store that data is so expensive. That's why it gets passed on to the notary a lot of time. If you can limit how long somebody stays in the actual session, you can cut down a lot of that. And I feel like platforms then become more affordable. But the only way you can do that is by pre-doing pretty much everything else beforehand, or
That's
making
true. That's true. I think about
you just sitting
retention.
there talking like, hey, drag this thing, or did you do this thing, or do you know how to do this thing? It's like, cut all that out and let's make it a 2-minute interaction and be done with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the things I would like to see is better client prep, only because, you know, like we said, notaries have that now, right? Well, on some platforms, the onboarding is a lot more streamlined. They're able to go through, do test notarizations, whatever, to start getting comfortable with it. But on the signer side, that doesn't exist. Well, it doesn't exist on a lot of platforms still. And so you still spend so much time just trying to get them into signing. Like for me, that's one of the longest parts, which is just explain to people how exactly it works. How do you get in? This is what KBAs are. And so I wish there was kind of that like onboarding in a way for a signer, a quick thing, so they know exactly how to move through it.
Right. And again, you know, with I don't know how they solve it other than, like you said, there has to be some type of qualification process before you get to, like you said, you want everything done, ready to go. So it's just a stamp and a signature. That kind of should be some kind of point there for the customer, you know, like they can't get on video and try to sign it and be like, do you know what you're doing? Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know if you've ever done one of those onboarding where it kind of like guides you through it. So it like pops up something and it like gives you a little eye icon that's like, this is what this is. You do this here, you do that, and it pops to the next. Like I kind of wish there was that kind of same thing.
Yeah.
So then that way you can move through it.
Yeah.
And I would say like the only other thing is we still run into it on a lot of platforms, which is like KBAs, and IDs from other countries, and being able to do, ID verification and credential analysis for people abroad. Certain platforms do it better than other ones, as far as being
I noticed that. Yeah, some it really struggles, like they have to redo it a couple times. Others, it's boom. That's what you mean? Comes right through.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Or like even the capabilities to like really, no matter what country they're in, like being able to really get it through. I want that to be something that's more streamlined also as we get into the next generations, or we have extra features that are added on.
You're not talking about the actual KBA US versus foreign person. You're talking about no matter what, you're talking about maybe how the ID structure when it reads it?
Exactly.
Okay.
I do think there's some KBA issues as well, but specifically how the ID structure and how it reads it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think in order for RON to truly be international, which is, you know, one of the best benefits of it, you know, we need to make sure that no matter where people are, it's a little bit more straightforward, which I know is going to be a struggle.
Yeah, because there's no international KBA, you know.
Exactly.
Maybe we need more biometric for fourth or fifth generation, where it's not about the ID, you know, you can put your finger on, you know, on something and it reads it and, oh, okay, you're good. Well, you know, like what do you call it? Global entry.
Yeah.
Type stuff, you know, it's already set.
I know. It's
read your eye, you know, read your eyeballs. That's probably gonna be fourth and fifth generation, you know, RON stuff. You know, they just put the face on the camera, does a little identification. Oh yeah, we got all the information there. You're good to go. There's no more doing this and sending pictures and all that. They just, you know,
I know. If you're thinking about like fingerprinting, right? If a lot of laptops now, like my laptop opens with my fingerprint, right? So it's like, you already have my fingerprint on.
Yeah.
Like, let's figure out a way to get this straight. Yeah, so I'm super excited about like where RON's going, the way platforms are changing, what the landscape's going to look like, you know, a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. Because as we've seen, there's been so many changes already, and that's really just been in like the past year or so that all of these features have started to really pop up on platforms. Just any last words about how you're feeling about like where it's going, what you're excited about as RON continues on?
Yeah. So to button it up, next generation fingerprint, eyeballs, facial recognition for the client as far as KBA, you know.
Yeah. Plus more plus being able to do stuff on the phone for the actual notary itself, plus like easier onboarding for
onboarding
the signers. That would easily be like my top 3 that I would want. But if you are watching this video and you made it to the end of this video, let us know, what features would you want to see in a new platform? What features are you absolutely loving in current platforms? And as always, Shawn does offer mentoring. I will always publicize that because he's a great mentor. He's one of the first people I connected with when I started this journey. So I will make sure all his information is in the description and in the comment section. So that way, if they want to get in touch with you, they can. Do you want to just say how to get in touch with you real quick on the video?
You can email me at ShawNotaryCofield, but there's only one N in the note, so it's not 2 N's, it's 1 N. Yeah, I don't remember the URL, but you'll put that in the chat. Over in the comments section. Yeah, I have a website, Apostille, NotaryPublic.net. You can reach out there. Also, just want to give you a personal shout out. You know, doing a great job at this. You're like the Oprah Winfrey of Ron. You know. you got things going.
You get an interview. Yeah, it's first of all, love Oprah, so I will take that comparison all day. Yeah. But thank you. Appreciate you as always for having on this. This will not be the last time obviously you see Shawn. We got some
you don't know that. You don't know that.
I know, that's okay. All right. You're about to ghost me after this. You're like, yeah, I'm done.
Well, we got the metaverse now. I can do it. I'm gonna have a proxy avatar doing all my
come up and do it. Yeah. I bet you. Well, Shawn, thank you so much and take care. Bye.